This is Brother Peter Dimond here with Steve. Steve is someone who has spent a lot of time studying the issue of, quote, baptism of desire and our arguments against it, and he has written on this topic. He has attempted to refute our arguments, and we were going to have certain debates about aspects of the baptism of desire issue and the salvation issue. But the first debate we're going to have concerns whether the priests he regards as Catholic, such as Bishop McKenna, Father Shikata, Sanborn, priests of the CMRI, and similar priests, whether they believe souls can be saved in non-Catholic religions. And we have made the point repeatedly that those priests do in fact believe that souls can be saved in non-Catholic religions. Steve has claimed that they do not, so we were going to be discussing that issue. So I don't know if you want to begin, or what I would point out is, how can you say that these priests, such as Bishop McKenna, don't believe souls can be saved in non-Catholic religions, when, for instance, McKenna wrote to us and agreed with Father Dennis Fahey that a Jew who rejects Christ can be in the state of grace?
Okay. I would start by saying this. We have to distinguish the difference between the internal form and the external form. I think Father Fahey kind of explained the intention of the Jew, though he's rejecting Christ, if there's something in him, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's something in him that Christ finds, or God finds in him as good, and his intentions are good, though externally or objectively he's doing completely the wrong thing. And then I think that's what he's saying, that a guy like a Jew who rejects Christ in that sense could be saved. Now, I would like to make the point that he's not saying how it happens.
So wait a second, you're saying that you do believe a Jew who rejects Christ can be saved?
Not as he's rejecting Christ, no.
But wait a second, Steve, either a Jew who rejects Christ can be in the state of grace, or he can't. McKenna and Fahey say yes. What do you say?
No, he did not say that. He did not say he would be in the state of grace.
Do you want me to quote him for you?
Yeah, please do that.
Okay, quote, "It is possible that a member of the Jewish nation who rejects our Lord may have the supernatural life which God wishes to see in every soul, and so be good with the goodness God wants." That is clearly to state that a Jew who rejects Christ can be in the state of grace. McKenna said that he fully agrees with it. That is blatant heresy, yet you say that they don't actually believe that, and yet you're simultaneously arguing essentially that a Jew who rejects Christ could maybe be saved if God sees something in him that is worthy of salvation. Which is it?
Sure. First of all, I would disagree with that statement. That is blatant heresy. I do believe that a Jew who rejects Christ at the moment he's rejecting Christ does not have supernatural grace.
Well, Steve, Bishop McKenna agreed with it. And yet you said, Bishop McKenna, you said it's a falsehood for us to say that someone like McKenna believes that a soul can be saved in non-Catholic religions.
That's right. I talked to Bishop McKenna about this, and that's what I'd like to say. I pointed out to him that I think that he meant things correctly, but he has stated some of them incorrectly. He admitted that he may very well have done that. I think that...
But wait a second, is he endorsing heresy by agreeing with Fahey?
Yes, in that point he would be.
Okay, so you're contradicting your whole position here.
But not intentionally.
But wait a second, you said that what we said about their position, our characterization of their position, is false. You've printed that, you've said it repeatedly, and now you're proving that it's true. Because...
What I'm saying is that, wait a second, I am saying that their position... Okay, now listen, I'm saying that their position as they've stated it is incorrect, but they don't mean it the way they're saying it.
So they don't mean what they say and what they endorse. Okay. That's like saying that...
Correct, that's right.
That's like saying that John Kerry, even though he endorses abortion, because he says, personally, I accept Catholic teaching, and he's made a statement to that effect, we can just say, well, John Kerry, actually, he doesn't support abortion. I know he's documented to endorse it, but that doesn't matter because he's assured me that personally he believes it. Do you see how ridiculous and evil what you're saying is? You're letting the guy endorse a blatantly heretical teaching and a rejection of the gospel, And you're saying that doesn't matter because he personally told me he accepts Catholic dogma. All the heretics say they accept Catholic dogma. All of them do.
Listen, Brother Peter, I have spoken with him, and he says he claims, as I believe it, he holds it the way I hold it. I can explain how I hold it. I don't know if you want to go there, but I can explain how I hold it, and he agreed with me. So
well, let me ask you about another. Okay. Bishop Sanborn says, quote, "If by some mystery of providence and predestination they, pagans and idolaters, are united to the soul of the church and by desire to its body, it is in spite of their paganism and idolatry." End quote. So he explicitly states that a pagan and an idolater can be saved. Is that heresy?
Yes, but not as a pagan or idolater.
He describes them as pagans, Steve.
Right. But they're not going to die. If you die as a pagan, you die as an idolater, and you continue to hold that faith. And yes, you're going to go to hell. But we're not talking about that.
Then why does he call them pagans? If they convert to the Catholic faith, why doesn't he call them Catholics?
Because that happens at death. This is what baptism of desire is.
No, people can convert. People can convert to the Catholic faith at death. That doesn't make them identifiable. Wait a second. That doesn't make them identifiable as pagans. Those people who convert are not pagans. Okay, so this is
exactly.
Right. He's not talking about people who convert to the Catholic faith. He's talking about pagans and idolaters. And he, in fact, in this very context, goes on to say it is due to an invincible ignorance of their error. So he's not talking about people who put away their error before death. He's talking about people who are in error, who are pagans. Is that heresy?
Okay. You die as a pagan. If you die as a heretic and you maintain that position when you're at death, yes, you go to hell.
But Steve, this is so dishonest. He's not talking about people who convert. No one denies that you can convert from paganism. No one denies that, Steve.
But all he's saying is they can be saved. He doesn't say how they can be saved. He's not saying how they can be saved.
So your argument is that a pagan can be saved as long as it's by the Catholic Church.
No, a pagan can be saved, and it's going to be in the Catholic Church. I'll say it, pagans and Jews. I will say that anybody can be saved, but not as a Jew, not as a pagan, not as a Muslim, not as an idolater. They may live as that in some way, but at death...
He's not... Does he say that? Does he say that pagans and idolaters can convert before death?
He doesn't say they don't. He doesn't apply one way or the other.
He states that... Yes, he says that he describes people as pagans. He says those people can be saved. It's quite obvious to an honest person, but unfortunately I'd say in charity you're not honest. You're just not honest.
I can say pagans can be saved, but not as pagans. From a point of an objective point of view, looking at a pagan can be saved, but if he dies and maintains his paganism, no. But a pagan who God gives the grace to see the truth at death, to be sincerely sorry for his sin, will enter the faith.
That's not what he says. He says that a person can be saved in spite of their paganism. Quote, it is in spite of their paganism and idolatry. It's not a matter of debate. He clearly is referring to people who are pagans. He's not talking about people who convert. And when you argue in that way, you are arguing extremely dishonestly. We're not talking about people who convert. We're talking about people he says are pagans and who are saved in spite of their paganism. What part of that don't you understand? It's just that you don't want to admit what they really believe. It's obvious to an honest person. Okay, here's another quote. I've spoken with CMRI priests. They've told me that souls can be saved in non-Catholic religions. Okay. For example, I spoke with Father Benedict Hughes in 2011. You can hear the audio. I asked him, would you say that invincible ignorance could apply to Jews who even reject Christ? Hughes, that's for God to judge, not me. Is that statement heretical?
No.
No, it's not.
No, because Jews, it's possible for Jews to be invincibly ignorant. That's possible.
So you do believe Jews can be saved?
Not as Jews.
Not what?
And that's the point. Not as Jews.
Wait a second. How are they saved then? How are they saved?
At death, God enlightens them.
Of what?
In ways that we don't understand.
Enlightens them of what?
Enlightens them with the faith.
Of the Catholic faith?
Of course, you have to know the Catholic faith.
Okay, so once they're enlightened of the Catholic faith, are they Jews anymore?
If they accept the Catholic faith, are they Jews anymore?
Right.
Well, no. They accept their.
Is that a no?
That's the mystery of the baptism of desire.
Wait a second.
You accept the faith, and you're sorry for your sins.
When they accept the quote faith, as you're saying, do they cease to be Jews at that point?
But the Jewish faith, yes, they cease to be part of the Jewish faith.
So they're no longer Jews. Can you just answer my question? Are they Jews anymore once they accept the faith? Yes or no? An honest person can answer the question.
They're not Jews anymore.
Okay, so why does he refer to Jews who reject Christ?
Because he's speaking from the external form.
No, you're just a liar, Steve. Well, anyone knows that a Jew who converts can be saved. No one disputes that. We're talking about people who reject Christ, who never put away their error.
That's not the point. If they never put away their error, then no one's disputing that they're going to go to hell.
No. Hughes says they cannot be judged. It's for God to judge, not me. You said you agree with that. Yeah, I mean, you're just speaking out of both sides of your mouth. And see, all the heretics who deny this dogma, as you do, they all try to hide their heresy under this. What you say is, when we're pointing out, they say, well, they can convert. They say they can convert. No, we're not talking about people who convert. Everyone knows you can convert. Obviously, that's the goal, to convert people. People can convert.
At death? Can you convert at death?
Before your death, yes.
At death, at that moment that we don't know, right at the moment of death, in a mystery that we don't understand, you don't think God can somehow give us the grace to be sincerely sorry for our sins, enlighten us to the faith, and to accept Him? Well,
they'd have to be baptized. But the point is that whole notion.
That's a whole other part of the debate.
Right, I understand. But my point is.
What I'm making.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Well, I don't want to interrupt.
Well, what I was saying.
The point I'm making is that at death, if some Muslim, some Jew, some idolater, if somehow they please God in a way that I don't understand, because despite of themselves, because they don't really, maybe they like St. Paul, for instance, who was crucified Christians. He was going out and killing Christians, and somehow God gave him the grace, gave reason, saw some good in him, gave him the grace to see the truth, gave Paul the opportunity to accept Christ, and he did. Now, I think he can do that with people at death.
People who convert are not Jews and Muslims and idolaters.
That's right. They become Catholic.
Right, and so this is all just a dishonest attempt to obfuscate your position. We've talked to so many heretics who, when you point out, can a non-Catholic can be saved? Yes, they can convert. Of course. We're talking about, can people who don't convert be saved? And
they cannot.
Okay, well, Sanborn, here's another quote. Here's another quote from Sanborn. If someone is saved who is in those false religions, it has nothing to do with that false religion.
Right. If you die in a false religion, it's over for you.
He just said he just said that someone can be saved in those false religions. Is that heresy?
That's absolutely heresy.
Okay, yet the subject of this debate is your claim that these priests don't believe that heresy. We have said they do believe that heresy. Who's right? Who's right? You still...
Who specifically said that, is all I'm asking. Who specifically said that?
That quote? Bishop Sanborn, February 17th, 2008. Quote, if someone is saved who is in those false religions, it has nothing to do with that false religion. So do you admit you lost this debate? Because you maintained that we were wrong in saying that these priests actually believe souls can be saved in false religions, and that's being disproven. Your claim. Do you agree that you're wrong about that? What you printed, what you've stated repeatedly, is just a falsehood.
Well, who did I say? Who were the people that I stated?
You stated it in the exchange with Justin. You've printed the same in your book, that our claim that these priests who accept BOD and invincible ignorance believe in the heresy that souls can be saved in false religion. You say that they don't believe that. That's not true. Who was telling the truth of Jesus Christ on that issue? We were. You weren't, and you were so blind that you were willing to actually engage in a debate.
You just said it. Baptism of desire. If you receive baptism of desire, then you don't die in the false religion. If you can die outside the Catholic Church in a false religion, then there's no need for baptism of desire. That's the whole point of it.
You just admitted that Sanborn's statement is heretical, right?
if he's saying that people would die.
I just quote. Don't act like you don't know what he's saying. I just quoted for you what he's saying.
I agree. If he says dying in the religion is heretical, I'll call him myself and tell him that's a heretical point.
Okay, well,
I wouldn't know where he said that. I know Bishop McKenna, and I've talked to him.
Bishop McKenna already proved he holds the same heresy. He agreed with Father Dennis Fahey. You agreed. Fahey says that a Jew who rejects Christ can have the state of grace. Here's what McKenna says, quote, I could not agree more with what Father Fahey says. I mean, it doesn't get any more obvious. And for you to actually take a debate where you're defending that shows that you're in such a diabolical fog. It's scary. It's scary. And it's mortally sinful for you, actually, to not only have said that what we said is false, but to have defended it. Do you now repudiate what your previous claim and agree that we were right?
Do you repudiate that you said that people outside the church who die in false religions can go to heaven? Will you take that back?
Well, you didn't answer. I'll be happy to answer your question once you answer mine.
Yes, if they believe that and actually believe that, yes, I know the Bishop.
So you agree that you lost this debate?
I will agree that I lost the debate if they really believe that and they really said it and they hold it as they say it now.
We have all the documentation. With regard to your question, what I said was you accept the heresy that souls can be saved in false religions, and that was true because you.
I do not believe that.
Well, let me finish. Because you professed communion and defended these heretics after you had information which documented that they in fact believed souls could be saved in false religions. So, of course, when you defend their position, when you defend that they are Catholics when the evidence is in front of you, obviously you hold communion with them. So that was a justifiable statement. But, I mean, and there are many other quotes we could get into.
You do realize, though, that I don't believe that.
I don't believe that you don't believe that because you've made statements in this very conversation which demonstrate that you're on both sides, you're speaking out of both sides of your mouth. You'll say, well, a Jew, not if he remains a Jew. You're not clear at all.
Right.
And furthermore, you accept invincible ignorance, right?
No, it does not save. I've made that perfectly clear.
But wait a second. You believe? Do you believe a person can be saved without knowing Jesus Christ? Does he have to know that?
A person cannot be saved apart and knowing and accepting Christ and being sorry for his sins perfectly.
So wait a second. You don't believe that the quote invincibly ignorant can be people who've never heard of Christ?
They're not saved because of invincible ignorance. They're saved because
you're contradicting yourself. You're contradicting yourself. Yes, because you said just a minute ago. I'll break it down for you. You said just a minute ago you don't believe that anyone can be saved without repentance and faith in Christ. And now I'm asking you again, and you're saying, well, not because of their ignorance. I'm not asking you if they're saved because of their ignorance. I'm asking you if every adult above the age of reason has to know the Trinity and the Incarnation for salvation. Yes or no? Who does invincible ignorance apply to then? Who's invincible ignorant?
From everybody who dies in that state who is of goodwill, and at that point God gives them the grace to know Christ, the ability to know Christ, and the ability to be sorry for their sins. That's who it belongs to. But it's not because
that doesn't make any sense at all, Steve.
Of course it does. Listen, Brother Peter, God can give grace to people at death to be sorry for their sins and to know the truth.
But you're saying that you claim you believe.
Because they're ignorant. If they reject Christ at death, they're going to hell.
But you said that you don't believe that people above the age of reason can depart life without faith in Christ. So who are these invincibly ignorant people that are supposedly saved? You definitely believe in invincible ignorance. So who does that apply to?
I just told you. Invincible ignorance does not save. It's everybody who's
No, I'm not asking you why they're saved. I'm asking you who can be saved and what they must believe. See, here's the bottom line. You do believe that people can be saved without faith in Christ, but you're not honest enough to admit it. That's just the truth. And just like you knew that these priests believe souls can be saved in false religions because we documented, but you weren't honest enough to accept the truth in that regard. And now you're being forced to admit in this debate that you were wrong.
I'm admitted they may have stated it incorrectly. Yes,
no, they stated it heretically. Okay, they're heretics.
Yes, exactly. Well, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Because To be a heretic, you already know, it's possible to be just wrong, to say things wrong, and not to presume the worst on somebody.
I agree that you can be wrong about stuff without being a heretic, but we're not talking about a basic matter. We're not talking about a matter that they don't have familiarity with. We're talking about a dogmatic definition they've seen. Jews, etc., can't be saved. They believe they can be saved. But I still don't understand your claim that you accept invincible ignorance on the one hand, so that doesn't apply to any pagans who live in lands that have never been penetrated by the gospel. Then unless the gospel reaches them or Christ enlightens them supernaturally, they can't be saved. So then you don't believe in invincible ignorance. Then you don't believe in invincible ignorance.
I believe that invincible ignorance doesn't save, is what I've stated.
Well, you're lying right there by that statement. My question is not whether invincible ignorance saves. My question is whether people who are ignorant of the essential mysteries of Christ can be saved. Two different issues. You know that, yet you're not being honest.
Yes. I told you they cannot be saved in their ignorance.
So therefore, you don't believe. Therefore, you don't believe in invincible ignorance.
But you twisted my words, because I said they will be enlightened with the truth. They will be enlightened with the truth if they're of goodwill.
Right, and so since everyone will know Christ or be enlightened with the name of Christ and belief in Christ prior to death, you don't believe anyone who dies invincibly ignorant of the Catholic faith and the essential mysteries of Christ can be saved. Therefore, you don't believe in invincible ignorance. That's what you're claiming, even though you print over and over again that you do believe in invincible ignorance. Do you see the contradiction?
No, I'm not seeing what you're saying.
Well, because you're in a diabolical fog. That's why. It's obvious to anyone who's honest and thinks clearly.
Listen, Brother Peter, I'll just make a statement for me. People out there who are invincibly ignorant, if they're of goodwill, God can give them grace at death to be saved.
I agree that people can be converted prior to death. That's nothing to do with what we're talking about. The issue is whether people who die ignorant of Christ can be saved. You're not giving a clear answer. You are claiming that you...
If you die ignorant of Christ, you're not going to be saved.
So there is no such thing as salvation for people who are ignorant of Christ. Salvation for the invincibly ignorant, right?
In the internal form, absolutely.
In the internal form. Okay, so who does invincible...
We're talking about, if you distinguish between the external form and the internal form, there's people out there in the external... We see people out here. We don't know what happens to them. We don't know what happens to their souls. But we judge in the external form. You die a Jew, you die a Muslim. From our appearance, a pagan, from our point of view, you go to hell. That's it.
So who does invincible ignorance apply to? Wait a second. Who does invincible ignorance apply to?
It apply to any of them, because it's possible to be a Jew.
No, but it's not ignorance, because they put away their ignorance prior to death. So what you're saying is you don't actually believe...
Right. There you go. They put away their ignorance at death.
This is so ridiculous, Steve, because now you're arguing that you actually don't believe anyone who's invincibly ignorant can be saved. All you believe is that someone who is invincibly ignorant can be converted. This is so absurd that it's just... I don't know. To defend this, you just have to be possessed.
That's what desire. God can give grace to anybody He wants at death.
So you believe that knowledge of the Trinity and the Incarnation is necessary for every single person above the age of reason, without exception?
Yeah, at death, right? At least
at death. Of course, we're not talking. Obviously, does anyone deny that you can convert prior to death? Have you ever encountered anyone who claims to be a traditionalist Catholic who holds that you can't convert prior to death? Have you ever encountered anyone who holds that?
Say it one more time.
Have you ever encountered anyone who claims to be a traditional Catholic who holds that people cannot be converted to the Catholic faith prior to their death?
Everybody I know believes that.
Right. So what relevance whatsoever does it have for you to continually say that if they're converted or informed prior to their death? Obviously, that's a given. Everyone agrees that. So the doctrine of invincible ignorance, according to you, actually means nothing. It just means people can convert. No, you know that that's not what it means. You heretics all believe that it means that people who die ignorant of Christ, if they have some kind of repentance and they try to be good people.
No, I said that God enlightens people of the truth, gives them the grace to be sincerely sorry.
Are you familiar with Father Kevin Valancourt?
No, never heard of him.
You've never heard of him?
Valancourt?
Yeah, all right. How about the Society Pius V? They printed, quote, "It is inconceivable."
Yeah. I'm sorry.
You do know Father Kevin Valancourt?
Yeah. I do recognize the name now.
Okay, he said that, are there any more good faith pagans in existence? And he gives the example of, he says, can the Chinese communist or the Indian Buddhist or the Pakistani Muslim be included in such a consideration of invincible ignorance? He says, only God knows. I write merely to uphold the dogmatic principle of the possibility of such cases. Is that statement heretical?
Is it possible? I had to have this in my face and have this looked at and examined. It sounds like...
It's not a difficult question for an honest person. It's not.
It sounds...
You see, this just proves that you do accept the heresy. Okay?
I do not, the heresy that baptism of desire, you call baptism of desire heresy.
Well, that is a heresy, but this is the heresy you accept, that souls can be saved in false religions.
No, heresy can't be.
Otherwise, you would just say that it is heresy, but you can't. Here's another one from the Society of St. Pius V. Quote, "It is inconceivable to me that of all the billions of non-Catholics who have died in the past 19 1/2 centuries, none of them were in good faith in this matter, and if they were, I simply refuse to believe that hell is their eternal destiny." End quote. Is that heresy?
It's heresy to believe that non-Catholics can be saved.
No, I didn't ask you that. I asked you if this statement is heretical. I can read it again for you if you'd like.
Okay,
quote, "It is inconceivable to me that of all the billions of non-Catholics who have died in the past 19 1/2 centuries, none of them were in good faith in this matter, and if they were, I simply refuse to believe that hell is their eternal destiny." End quote.
Well, and then someone's making an opinion about something, right? He doesn't know. He doesn't know. He thinks that there might be at least somebody out there. That's what he's saying.
I could quote it again for you if you'd like. "It is inconceivable to me that of all the billions of non-Catholics who have died in the past 19 1/2 centuries, none of them were in good faith in this matter, and if they were, I simply refuse to believe that hell is their eternal destiny." End quote. So he's clearly saying that people who are non-Catholics, so don't give me the garbage of, well, they can be enlightened and converted. We're not talking about that. He's talking about non-Catholics. And he says, I refuse to believe hell is their eternal destiny. Is it heresy? Yes or no?
Are we speaking from an external form or the internal form, Brother Peter?
We're speaking from the true position. There's only one truth. Okay, they can't be saved. So it's obviously the internal forum, because when the Catholic Church defines a dogma, it's defining the reality in God's sight.
In God's sight, in the internal form,
which is reflected by what they must know. Okay.
Well, God sees things that we don't see, right? Would you agree with that? God sees things that we don't see.
He does.
Okay. So we don't see we don't know what people know.
But that is irrelevant, because we're talking about people who are in fact not Catholic. Okay, that's what he says. See, the fact that you can't even answer the question just proves my point.
I've already told you, though, those who die, apart from baptism of desire, of course, yeah, they're going to hell. We're talking about those whom God enlightens, whoever He pleases Him, He gives the grace to be saved.
Well, I think your failure to answer the question that says really all one needs to know. Let me ask you this question: someone who dies an atheist like Christopher Hitchens, when he was arguing against Catholicism, was he definitely in a state of damnation, or just we presume that?
There you go. That's a good example. Christopher Hitchens. Yeah, from all appearances, looks very well like he went to hell, right?
No, I'm not asking you about his death. I'm asking you about when he was on Earth, and when he was, for instance, he argued with a false traditionalist heretic named White.
Right.
When he was doing that debate, was he in a state of damnation? When he was arguing, attacking the Catholic faith, he was.
Of course he was.
Okay, so how can you make that judgment? How can you make that judgment?
I just said we judge in the external form. We don't see the internal.
So it's possible that in the internal forum he might not have been in bad faith.
It's possible that maybe.
Okay, so you just torpedoed your whole case.
No, maybe.
Maybe. So you just admitted that Christopher Hitchens, who attacked the Catholic faith, denied the existence of God, might have been in good faith.
He may have been.
There you go. You're a complete apostate.
Yeah, he may have been, and if he was, and if
anybody can be saved. Then you just proved that you believe atheists can be saved.
No, because, see, what I'm saying is this. If God gives him the grace,
I have to say,
enlighten his mind. Unless he was already given the light, I don't know. I don't see a soul. I don't see his soul.
No, but see, a person with the apostolic faith, with the Catholic faith, knows that people...
He was in hell, Brother Peter. From the external form, he's in hell, just like Martin Luther.
No, the church... There's no division. There's no division. When dealing with matters of faith, the church doesn't distinguish. Okay, when we're talking about issues of canon law, it does distinguish. But when we're talking about the dogmatic truths of the faith, and also individuals who are exhibiting certain things, you know for certain that they're not of God.
I don't judge hearts. I don't know. I would suspect.
Right, and so according to you,
as a matter of fact, listen, according to me, have you've read my book? I'm sorry, I should say.
Well, you can refer to it.
Okay, you cut it out of you. I didn't mean to bring it up, but listen, I make it very clear. I'm not even saying there's been anybody who's been saved through baptism.
It doesn't matter because you teach heresy.
I make it possible that God could do it if He so desires to those individuals.
Steve,
whom He pleases Him in ways that I don't understand.
Steve, you just admitted that you think it's possible that Christopher Hitchens was in good faith. Therefore, you prove that you not only believe. Let me finish. Therefore, you prove that you not only believe atheists could be saved, but that souls can be saved in any religion. So you not only prove my point that your priests believe that, but that you yourself believe that. And see, that's why your position is just complete apostasy.
No, listen,
you're no different from the Vatican II apostates on terms of salvation.
Christopher Hitchens, if he dies an atheist, he goes to hell. But the point is it possible that God could enlighten him at death in a way that we don't see?
This possible. Steve, we're not talking about him converting, obviously. We're talking about when he was arguing with the false traditionalist heretic, you said he might have been in good faith. See, when you switch to he could have converted at death, you just show your dishonesty. Because anyone who is honest and can think carefully knows that that's not the issue. We're not talking about people converting. We're talking about people who are not Catholic. Can they be in good faith in that state?
And I've already made that perfect. I've made that perfectly clear.
No, you've actually made it perfectly clear that you've contradicted yourself. That's what you've made clear.
You can't be saved. You can't be saved apart from Christ, apart from the faith, and being sincere.
You don't believe that because you believe that Christopher. Steve.
No, I don't. Not on his own.
Steve, you just said that Christopher Hitchens could have been in good faith apart from Christ.
He could.
So actually, according to you,
Can I define what I mean by that?
Okay, go ahead.
I define that there may, just like Father Fahey, and he may have said it correctly, but there may be something in, like St. Paul, when he was crucifying those Christians, he believed he was doing the right thing, even though he was totally wrong. He something in him meant well, that we don't see that God sees. And if that was the case, and it's possible that God could have given him whatever is necessary. I'm not saying he did.
Let me respond to that.
He probably did.
That's irrelevant because under the new covenant, let me finish. Under the new covenant, okay, there are specific requirements for salvation which have been dogmatically defined, namely faith in Christ and the Trinity and baptism, but we're talking about faith in Christ right now. And so what you're saying here is that Christopher Hitchens, while he was arguing against the Catholic faith, actually internally could have been a Christian.
No, I did not say that.
So then how could he have possibly been in good faith if he was definitely not internally a Christian, and he was definitely not externally a Christian?
Listen, just because you internally are well-meaning doesn't make you a Christian.
Wait a second.
Well-meaning people don't make people Christians, right?
Steve, follow me here. Okay, you said.
But you've made a link to be well-intentioned automatically makes you a Christian. That's not true.
No. Let me finish.
Can you be well-intentioned and not be a Christian? Is that possible? Can you be well-intentioned and not be a Christian?
Not unto the point of justification. No, you can have good intentions in certain areas, and God will give you graces to move toward the truth. But no, let me break down what you're not seeing.
I don't disagree with you.
Steve, let me break down what you're saying. Okay, what you're not saying. You claim that during the actual debate against the false traditionalist, where he's attacking God, rejecting the Catholic faith, doesn't even believe in God, that he might internally, in God's sight, have been in good faith. We don't know, we can't judge. God might have seen something we don't see. Therefore, internally, he might have been good. Whereas you've also said that in order to be internally good in the internal form, you have to be Catholic. You have to have the Catholic faith. Therefore, your argument logically is that even though externally he's attacking God, internally, the part that could have been good could have been Catholic, because according to you, in order to be internally good in God's sight, you have to have the Catholic faith. You see? Your argument leads logically to the conclusion that people who externally are atheists and say they're atheists are actually could be Catholic.
No, that's not true.
Well, it's a logical conclusion.
No, it's not, because you've just jumped from being well-intentioned and well-meaning and whatever to, oh, well, that makes you a Catholic.
But you yourself have argued that in order to be in a state that's good before God, you have to be Catholic.
I'm not saying you're in a state of good like you're in a state of grace.
But
I think you're in a state of grace.
No, I asked you if Christopher Hitchens was infallibly in a state of damnation, and you said, I can't judge.
He's in a state of damnation. I said that he was in a state of damnation.
You said externally, but you can't judge. God might have seen something internally.
No. I say he's in a state of damnation, but there's still something there that could have been well-intentioned. He's in a state of damnation.
It's pretty obvious. Your position is complete apostasy, and anyone who embraces it is just completely faithless. That's just.
Do you not agree that it's possible for people to be well-intentioned, be in a state of damnation, like Paul, when Paul was going around and killing and he was holding the cloaks while they were stoning Stephen, you know? When he was doing all these evil things, that there was something in him.
That's irrelevant. Here's why. Because that was prior.
But did God see something good in Paul? Or Saul?
He saw that Paul had zeal, and he saw that Paul would respond to the truth. Therefore, he brought him in. That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Because no, it doesn't. Because
yes, it does. Because if you have zeal and you want the truth, you could be doing the wrong thing like Paul.
Right. So according to you, Christopher Hitchens could have been in a state of grace.
No, I just said he couldn't be.
Okay. Then why did you say you couldn't judge? When I asked you, is he definitely in a state of damnation? You say, well, I can't judge that.
I believe he's in a state of damnation if he's going against Christ. Internally. Okay, he has to be giving.
So internally, he could be in a different state, right?
God has to give you grace. God has to give you grace.
Internally, could he have been in a different state?
No, internally he was in a state of damnation.
So then why did you? You just completely contradicted yourself.
No, I didn't.
Earlier you said you can't judge his internal state. St. Paul is irrelevant. The gospel was promulgated, okay, and the requirements. Listen.
Paul's a perfect example.
No, it is no example. Because
was he in a state of damnation when he was crucifying people or killing Christians?
Yes, he was. He was.
He was a state of damnation.
That's right, and he would not have been saved.
Did God save him? Did God save him?
Excuse me?
Did God save him?
He did by bringing him into the Christian faith.
He enlightened his mind, didn't he? He enlightened him.
Right.
And that's the point I'm making.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. We're not talking about people converting.
What we're talking about.
I agree that Christopher Hitchens could have been enlightened and converted. He wasn't, but he could have been enlightened and converted.
Well, you don't know if he was or wasn't. He probably wasn't, but you don't know for sure. And that's the thing. We don't know.
You're conflating two separate issues. The question of whether he died an atheist and the state he was in when he was clearly an atheist.
From all appearances, he died an atheist and went to hell. Yes, from all appearances, he most certainly did.
Right, and so once
in all appearances, he looks like he's in hell.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, you divert from the point when you get into whether he converted. Okay, the point is while he was arguing against the Catholic as an atheist,
well, then he was in a state of damnation.
But you said internally that you can't judge, and it could have been otherwise. That you're just going externally.
No, I can't. I still can't judge him internally. I still can't judge. It doesn't matter. I can't judge.
Steve, so you agree, since you can't judge him internally, that he, in reality, in God's sight, in God's sight, he could have been in a state that was not the state of damnation.
No. I wouldn't.
Then you can judge him internally. Either you can or you can't. See, you're just contradicting yourself. If you can't judge him internally, then it's possible that internally he was in a state other than the state of damnation.
No, he's in a state of damnation.
So you can judge, so you do know his internal state.
I would say that.
Do you know his internal state or not? Yes or no?
Yes, I would say yes.
You just said a minute ago that you can't judge it.
I can't. Well, he might be well-intentioned, right?
Oh boy, I mean, this is.
Is that possible? Is that possible?
What do you mean by that? Well-intentioned? No, it isn't. He was absolutely evil-intentioned.
He had that.
Did he have any good intentions at all, ever? Okay, that's a separate question. For example, did he want to help an old lady across the street? That's irrelevant. We're talking about, was he an evil person? Was he in a state of damnation? Yes, he was.
I would say yes.
So you can judge his. So you can judge his internal state. Yes or no? Can you judge his?
Yes, in a certain degree you can.
Wait a second. You say yes, but to a certain degree. Which is it? Can you judge his internal state or not? You can't answer the question because it shows, it cuts the heart of your heresy and your lie. You've contradicted yourself probably 5 to 10 times on this little point. You say, I can't judge, yet I do know his internal state, yet to a degree. No, I can't judge. It's just a lie.
I don't judge people.
And that's the end result of the heresy. Souls can be saved in any religion, which we've proven again, all of you believe.
Wait, there you go. I made it very clear that you can't be saved in false religion. I made that very clear. You have to know Christ.
No.
You have to.
So you reject invincible ignorance, right?
I reject invincible ignorance. Yes.
That wasn't the question. Do you reject that people can be saved who are invincible ignorant? Quote, invincible ignorant.
Invincible ignorant the whole life until the point of death, and then God's life. Yes.
It's pretty obvious. Steve.
I made it clear. Well, listen, I made my point clear. You know where I stand. I think most people understand. I think people who listen to this will understand what I'm saying.
Oh, what do you think about McKenna's statement that the doctrine then of no salvation outside the church, this was also printed in the CMRI's magazine.
Outside the church, there's no salvation.
Wait, hold on. The doctrine then of no salvation outside the church is to be understood in the sense of knowingly outside the church. Is that heretical?
They're speaking from the external form, I'm sure, right?
I'm asking you, is that statement heretical? Yes or no?
I'm asking, is it spoken from the external form?
Is his statements? I'm quoting what was printed in the external form.
I know. Would you say they're speaking from the external form? In other words, are they speaking from appearances?
No, they're referring to what the doctrine declares in the sight of God. So what you're saying is the dogmatic teaching of the church is not true coram Deo, which is in the presence or in the sight of God, but it's only true coram ecclesia, in the presence of the church. Is that what you're saying?
No, the dogma outside the church applies in the internal form, and that's why we have baptism of desire, because that's what happens in what we don't see. That's the mystery. That's the mystery. It happens in a way we don't see.
So who is he referring to?
It's something God does.
So who is he referring to when he says that people can be saved who are not knowingly outside the church?
He's speaking about... We've already gone over this.
Yeah, you can't answer because your position's a pack of lies, a pack of demonic lies. And you don't believe in the dogma outside the church or the salvation, not one bit.
No, absolutely.
Not one bit.
The church there's no salvation, absolutely.
Yeah, you can. All the heretics say that. You don't believe it because you believe that that's true in the external forum.
No, I don't. Because in the external forum, people who are outside the church, okay, who are outside the church through no fault of their own, okay, through no fault of their own, way we don't understand. You know, we don't understand. We don't know how. It would appear that heretics should know, especially those who have the ability to know it. But I don't. Maybe there's something wrong with their heads and they don't see it. I don't know. But the point I'm trying to make is those people can be saved not outside the faith at death, but speaking from appearances, it would appear that they're outside the church.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
Outside the church.
So someone who converts to Christ, how do they appear to be outside the church?
Well, we brought the very first one, a Jew, for instance, who rejects Christ. A Jew, but as he goes around and rejecting Christ, and he has that. He's just like Paul rejected Christ. Okay?
What about him? We know he rejects Christ. You've said that. What about him?
Right. So, whatever it is that God sees that He's pleased with, like He was with Paul, that at the moment of death,
he accepts Christ.
Chooses, and we don't know who He does. If God so chooses, that is when it happens, at death, that He enlightens them.
And so this is something that no one else knows.
Baptism of desire, no one knows about baptism of desire. That's exactly right.
So according to you,
we don't have saints. Hey, we don't have saints by baptism of desire.
So what if
no saint by baptism of desire, because we don't know if there even is a person.
So this person who converts to Christ, what if they talk to someone in the hospital room and say, "I accept Christ"? Would that person be apparently outside or inside the church? In what way is that?
No, he would be. No, he still wouldn't be inside the church at that point.
No. In what way would that person appear to be outside the church?
He'd still be. If a person, listen, okay, you're talking about a person who's in the hospital who accepts Christ in the hospital. He just now accepts Christ. Doesn't make him a Christian necessarily. He's still got to get baptized.
I'm not asking you that. I'm asking you that the point is that. It's quite obvious. When you're talking about the dogmatic definition, there's one truth. When it says all who die as non-Catholics, that means that people who are actually non-Catholics. When they say that people who are pagans can be saved, that means people who are actually pagans. When they say that the dogma...
But I agree with that.
Right, and so you agree that the position of these priests is heretical, but yet you simultaneously argue in the exact same fashion when you're talking about atheists and when you're pressed on these matters.
I've made it very clear that those same pagans, if at death God does something to them, it's God who does this thing, okay? And we don't know who it does to.
God's grace precedes every good action. So for you to say that is just an irrelevant diversion.
It's not, because that's the.
It's just an attempt, a diabolical attempt. You may not even be aware of it, to obfuscate your lies and your heresies.
I'm not.
Okay, all your stuff about how they can convert and this and that.
But that's the whole issue. If you die outside the faith, that's it. You can't be saved. The Catholic, listen, heaven is the Catholic Church.
So you rejected the notion that
heaven is the Catholic Church. It is the Catholic Church. It is the Church triumphant. So to be in heaven, you have to be part of the church. You got to be part of the church.
Now the people on earth are in the Church militant. The Church triumphant are the people in heaven.
That's right. The Church triumphant are the people in heaven.
Right. You said that
you're not part of
the opposite.
It's impossible to get to heaven, to be a part of the church, if you're outside the church. Because outside the church is hell.
So how about this? How about this notion that
is that true? Outside the church is damnation.
I would agree. Obviously, we believe that. But what I'm telling you is,
so the church. You see, how can you be in heaven and not be a part of the church?
I don't even know what your point is. I really don't. I don't understand what your point is.
Because outside the church, there's no salvation, and you can't be in heaven if you're outside the church, and that's the point. And God brings people into the church if He so desires.
Let me ask you this: is it heretical? Many people believe. Can I ask you a question, please? God.
Go ahead.
Okay. Many people believe that invincible ignorance means that pagans in lands that have not been penetrated by the gospel, who die ignorant of the name of Christ, can be saved by contrition and trying to do what they think is right and can have some form of baptism of desire. Okay? Is that position that those people who die in such, quote, ignorance, invincible, quote, ignorance, without knowing the Trinity of the Incarnation and believing that and rejecting their paganism, is their position heretical? And that's held by almost all the people who believe in baptisms are.
Well, listen, did not. Well, maybe we can't get into the issue.
Is that heretical or not?
Well, wait.
Based on what you said earlier,
can I break Pope Pius IX and his quantum?
We can have a whole debate just about that. That's not part of this debate.
I know. I don't want to be.
But my point is that you shouldn't even need to get into that.
He brings that very issue up, and it's still God who does it. It's still
so. But wait a second. You said you claim you believe that you must believe in Christ. So wouldn't it therefore follow that you would say it's heretical for other people? Let me finish. Is it heretical for other people to say that people who die ignorant of Christ can be saved? Is that heretical?
If they mean internally, and yes. If they mean it internally, in the internal form, yes. In the external form, in all appearance, it would look that way. That'd be different. Because you can't. That's why you got to distinguish between internal form and external form.
You're just proving you're just a liar. Okay, it's obvious. You can answer the question. Either they have to know Christ's name, or they don't. Okay.
What part do you not understand what I'm saying? Because I made it clear.
No, I understand. It's just a contradictory pack of lies. That's what it is. that it's very simple. Either they have to know the name of Christ or they don't.
Right. They got to know the name of Christ.
Okay, so therefore is the position of people who hold that people who are ignorant of the name of Christ can be saved, is that position heretical?
It is if they meet it in the internal form at death that only God sees, and they continue to because ignorance doesn't save. Have I not said invincible ignorance does not save?
No, actually,
it's a heresy.
It is a heresy. It is in the...
To say invincible ignorance saves is a heresy. To say that invincible ignorance...
That's not the question. Whether people in ignorance of the name of Christ can be saved. People believe that. That's the standard position of invincible ignorance. Is it heresy?
The standard... No, I wouldn't say that. The standard position of invincible ignorance is those people who
it's like talking to a Jehovah's Witness. It really is. It's just lie after lie, contradiction after contradiction. And so... I think it's been pretty clear that you admitted that you were wrong about the very topic of this debate, that they do believe what you claim they didn't believe. And so that showed you were not speaking the truth of Christ. So you agree. Do you repudiate your previous claim that it's false for us to say that these priests do in fact believe souls can be saved in false religions? Do you repudiate that?
That's the correct. If they believe it.
If they believe it.
Say it incorrectly.
Steve, I already quoted for you.
Well, I know did they believe it the way they say it? Is it possible that they said it incorrectly? Is that possible?
No, because they state it repeatedly. It's not possible because they state it repeatedly.
Well, I think they could be confused in the issue. I think that's very possible.
And you agree that McKenna? Do you agree that McKenna is a heretic?
No, Bishop McKenna is not a heretic because he agrees to the way I stated it and clarified it or not.
This is unbelievable. You admitted that Fahey's statement is heretical earlier. You also first tried to defend it, but you then admitted it's heretical. So here's a quote. McKenna, I could not agree more with what Father Fahey says, end quote.
What year did he say that in?
Bishop McKenna? I believe it was 2004. We have the date on our site, somewhere around there.
Well, I spoke with him in 2009 or 2010.
Okay.
2010. He wrote a letter to me in 2010, but in 2000, I'm pretty sure 2009 we first talked about this, and they gave him how I explained it, and he agreed with exactly the way I've explained it here tonight. And he said it's possible.
So he converted. He converted in the last few years. No, he didn't.
Well, it's possible he didn't understand it.
No, he did. He said he could not agree more. That's what he believes. It's just that he's a liar, like you and all these other people. You guys contradict yourself all the time. So yes, you will endorse heresy, and then you will say you don't endorse heresy. And then when pressed, you will admit you can't judge, and then you will say, yes, he could be good in the internal forum, and then you will say, no, I'm not saying that. And so it's just a pack of lies. It's just like any of the Vatican II heretics. It's no different. And that's why anyone who embraces your position, and as we pointed out, everyone who does, is a complete apostate. Anyone who obstinately holds that, you all believe that it's possible to be saved in any religion. When you break it down, when you're questioned, when you're pressed, that's what you believe.
No, I don't. I've made that perfectly clear. That you cannot be saved.
But let me ask you this, you're diverting. Was McKenna in heresy for agreeing with Fahey?
But you keep saying that I believe that people will be saved outside of the faith.
That's been established. That's been proven.
I know, and Bishop McKenna, I've already established, I've spoken with him, and he agrees with me on this point.
But was he in heresy for endorsing Fahey?
I would say that he might have misunderstood it. Not necessarily.
But let's say he didn't misunderstand. Let's say he meant what he wrote.
Well, obviously, you know something.
Okay, so your argument is that he was in heresy unless he didn't mean what he told us, right? That's your argument. I just say that. I just said that if he meant that people can be saved in false religion, yes, he would be a heretic. No, I didn't say that. I said if he meant what he wrote in agreeing with Fahey, he was in heresy. That's your position. Well,
I've already stated that he may have misunderstood it.
That's not my question. If he, in fact, meant what he wrote in agreeing with Fahey, was he a heretic?
And that statement is that people can be in a state of sanctifying grace apart from...
You know what this statement is. Do you need me to quote it again? Okay, so this is how absurd, Steve, this is how absurd your position is, that McKenna is in heresy and a heretic unless he didn't mean what he wrote. What is the likelihood he didn't mean what he said to us? almost zero. So the plausible conclusion is he is a heretic, because unless he actually didn't mean what he told us, you see how stupid it is? It's just absurd. That's what he believes. The fact that he contradicts it to you, that's not surprising, because he's a liar, like you are. Okay. And so he will contradict himself. He'll say, no, I don't believe that, and agree with other things, just like John Kerry says, I personally am against abortion, or I don't practice that in my private life, or I uphold church teaching as a private person, but publicly I endorse abortion. He's an abortionist, an abortion supporter. Okay, that's a fact. Doesn't matter what else he says, because this is documented. That's obvious. I don't have to. And so you agree that Sanborn's statement to conclude.
But I think I've clarified my position I think. I've clarified it. You keep saying that I believe outside the church there is salvation.
So Sanborn's statement.
You keep saying that.
Last thing.
And I've clarified.
Last thing. Sanborn's statement is someone is saved who is in those false religions. That's heresy too, right?
If he says it in the internal form, if he meant
right,
the external form, then that should just be understood in light of what he meant in the external form, which would be, in all appearances of someone who's outside the church, baptism of desire, it happens internal, something we don't see. I may say, yeah, Jews can be saved, and you will take that and say, oh, see, you see, Jews can be saved.
Someone who's a pagan. Someone who's a pagan.
You hear what I'm saying? I can say Jews can be saved, and you'll say, oh, see, outside the church of salvation, Jews can be saved. But that's not what I'd mean. I'd mean it, yeah, they can be saved.
Steve, here's another part of your heresy. That someone who's a pagan, or rather a Catholic in the internal forum, cannot be a non-Catholic in the external forum.
Say it again.
Someone who is a Catholic in the internal forum can't be a non-Catholic in the external forum.
Yeah, but see, at death, you don't see that.
That contradicts and refutes your entire argument.
No, because it happens at death. This happens at death. You don't see that. And you wouldn't be a pagan then.
No, but the church...
There is no external form. There is no external form at that point, because it happens at death. It's a mystery. External form, that's what we see. Now,
conversions at death do have external forum elements. And furthermore, the dogmas...
Not necessarily.
Well, in that case, it's completely irrelevant, because the dogmas deal with people who are dying outside the church in the internal forum, in reality, in God's sight. And the quotes I'm giving you deal with people who are in reality, in God's sight, pagans. So this distinction you're drawing is dishonest and irrelevant.
If in God's sight, in which he sees all things, then yes, a pagan dies as a pagan goes to hell.
Right, and the priests you regard as Catholic believe that people who are non-Catholics in the internal form can be saved. People who embrace beliefs in the external forum that infallibly make them non-Catholics in the internal form. Right. That's the key. Right. That's the key point.
But at death, though,
no, it's irrelevant, because they cannot.
But that's what happens. But that's when it happens. See, we're not talking about before that moment. We're talking about what happens at the moment.
Here's the key point, Steve, which cuts through your lie. That there are certain beliefs in the external forum.
But you're talking about everything that happened before.
Wait a second, Steve. Here, listen. There are certain beliefs in the external forum that infallibly make you a non-Catholic in the internal forum. For example, if you embrace paganism or idolatry in the external forum, you are infallibly a pagan and an idolater in the internal forum. In the same way, if you reject...
Let me say. So at baptism of desire, when God enlightens that pagan, who in the external form, and internal form is a pagan, when he's enlightened and in the internal form he accepts it, that which we don't see, because it happens at death.
No, because
he wouldn't be a pagan. And that's
he wouldn't be a pagan in the internal or the external form. He just wouldn't be a pagan, which is why this whole distinction is irrelevant. That's the point. That the position that you are in communion with is that people who embrace a belief such as Jews who reject Christ in the external forum can actually be Catholic in the internal forum.
No, come on.
So Fahey's statement is...
I've already made that clear that that's not true. Come on now. We said they may have been well-intentioned, and I said they were wrong. Doesn't mean that they're Catholic.
And actually, when we're talking about beliefs, here's another point with
now we're going in circles. We're going in circles at this point.
Well, no, there's another point that needs to be made. That certain beliefs, when we're talking about beliefs, we're talking about the internal form.
Okay.
All right? We're talking about what you believe. Okay?
Okay, right.
That's right. And therefore, when they say that people who believe as pagans, people who believe as Jews, they're saying people can be saved in the internal form. You say, well, if they're talking about in the internal form, no.
But you're, Brother Peter, but we're not talking about before the issue of baptism of desire when Christ then enlightens them. See, that's what you're not seeing. At that point, it's not the same. You see?
People can convert. I agree. They don't believe that only those who convert.
Wait. Do you believe they can be converted at death?
They would have to be baptized and embrace the essential mysteries of faith.
Okay, that's a different issue.
But you asked me what I believe. Okay.
That's right. So you don't believe it's possible for someone to convert at death.
Excuse me?
You don't believe a person can be saved.
I just said the opposite of what you just said. I said, yes, a person who converts before death would have to be baptized and embrace the essential mysteries of Catholic faith.
Can a person be saved at death in a mystery that we don't see?
Not in a mystery that doesn't involve baptism and belief in the Trinity.
And desire, and that's the issue. I'm asking. Here's the question. I've got it. Do you believe that God can save a person at death? It's an easy question. Can God?
I just answered your question.
In a mystery, can He do it?
In a mystery? No, He can't.
So God can't save a person at death in a mystery.
Not without baptism and belief in the Trinity and the Incarnation. No, because He said He saves a certain way, and He operates within His revelation.
So God cannot enlighten a person at death in a way that we don't understand at death and we don't see. You don't believe that?
God will not save anyone who is not enlightened.
I didn't say will not. I did not say will not. I say cannot. Can God
cannot
save
what?
A person? Can God save a person at death in a mystery that we understand by enlightenment?
What do you mean by a mystery? What do you mean by a mystery? Do you mean without faith in Christ?
No.
Well, what do you mean?
A mystery that we don't see.
What is that mystery?
Time.
Your question is completely pointless. What mystery are you referring to?
The time element at death. We don't know the time element at death. We don't know exactly what happened.
Steve, it's very simple to a non-liar. If he's going to save someone...
In other words, you're saying that God cannot save in a mystery in a way we don't understand.
What I'm saying to you, if you'd listen, is that God has revealed... Yes, I've answered the question multiple times. He said...
Can a person save a person at death in a mystery that we don't understand? You didn't answer the question. Yes or no? It's a simple yes or no.
No, he does not. He does not save people in a mystery because you're... All right, you ask your question. You give me a minute to respond.
You're not answering the question now.
You're not letting me answer. I've already answered multiple times.
No, you haven't. You haven't answered the question you want to answer.
What do you mean by mystery?
This is the crux of the issue.
No, it isn't. It isn't the crux of the issue. It's an illustration of that you're a complete liar. Okay. No, you're the complete documented liar who admitted already
that you not answer the question. I asked you a question you don't answer.
All right, you ask your question and then you be quiet for 1 minute. You ask your question and be quiet for 1 minute.
Are you going to answer that question?
If you'd be quiet for 1 minute.
Okay.
Ask the question.
Can God save a person in a way that we don't see at death by enlightening that soul at death? Okay, that we don't understand, we don't see. It's something that God does. Can God do that and save that individual?
Only if that individual is baptized and informed of the essential mysteries of Catholic faith. As I answered, you already interrupted me. You said you'd let me answer because the truth cuts apart your lies, and you won't even be quiet because you agreed to let me answer for a minute, but because the truth cuts down your lies and exposes your idiocy, you will not let me answer. Be quiet for a minute like you said. Be quiet for a minute like you said. Okay? Because you can't debate the issue. All you can do is lie.
Baptism of water. You brought up water now. But it's not the issue of water. You brought up about the priest and bishop, what they meant, and I told
listen, let me answer the question.
But you've entered water now.
Let me answer the question.
About that.
So you're asking me, can someone be saved without water baptism? Is that what you're asking me?
That's the issue.
No, of course not. Of course not. If that's what you mean, If you mean, can someone be saved in a mystery without water baptism? Of course not.
So that'll be the next debate. Can a person be saved apart from
Right, and see, you're in such a fog that you didn't even hear what I said like 4 times. You asked me, can someone be saved in a mystery? And I said, not without baptism in the Trinity of the Incarnation. And you thought I was saying without baptism because you're not even listening. You're so wrapped up in your lies.
No,
and so, but you admit you lost this debate.
No, because you didn't. You can't admit that a person can be saved apart from baptism.
Wait a second.
God can't save the person.
Steve,
God can't save a person apart from baptism.
Steve, the resolution for this debate was the priests you support and regard as Catholic, Sanborn, McKenna, don't believe souls can be saved in false religions, and you've admitted that is actually what they believe.
I already showed you what they believe at death. And you just don't believe they can be saved by baptism. They had to have water baptism. But the issue is they don't necessarily believe that.
Steve, you already admitted earlier in the conversation that their position is heretical. You already admitted earlier in the conversation that the position they embrace is heretical. Are you now changing your position?
No, I see. The whole thing is I brought the issue up. We got to the crux of the issue. And it really comes down to, can a person be saved by water baptism? They believe that a person does not have to be saved by water.
No, it's very simple. There's also the element of, there's also the Trinity of the Incarnation, which you claimed earlier in the conversation.
Did I not say that God can enlighten the person? That's why I said the mystery. The mystery of death.
Enlighten them.
The person of the truth.
Does that mean? Wait a second, Steve. Does that mean enlighten them of the name of Christ?
Enlighten the person of the Catholic faith.
What is the Catholic faith? What is the Catholic faith?
You're kidding me, right?
Yeah, I'm asking you. What are the essential components of the Catholic faith?
How about the Athanasius Creed? We could talk about the.
So they have to know the Trinity and the Incarnation, right?
You got to know. Yes, you got to know Christ.
Okay, so what's your point about enlightening them in a mystery?
The mystery is that can God do it in a way we don't understand? That's the mystery. We don't understand time.
So can God inform them of the Trinity and the Incarnation?
And give them the opportunity to say yes. Can God do
haven't you seen quotes to that effect in our book?
Yeah, that's the whole.
Okay, so why are you asking such an irrelevant question? Because you're attempting to divert from your heresy and obfuscate the issue. But I don't know. It's pretty obvious to anyone who's honest. So but you early admitted that you were wrong.
It comes down to water baptism, really. It's what it all comes down to, and that's the issue.
Well, actually, no. In this conversation, you've actually repudiated your position of invincible ignorance. You've also shown that you believe in it, but you've also repudiated it like 5-10 times.
I think I've made it clear where I stand.
Which is nowhere and in heresy and all over the place at the same time, which is quite an achievement. You're nowhere. You're also everywhere. You're also contradicting yourself. You're admitting you're actually wrong on the point of this debate. So just to close, do these priests believe souls can be saved in false religions or not?
No, they're not.
They don't. Okay. Even though earlier in the conversation you admitted.
And that's the issue. And I explain how baptism works. It happened to death. It happened to a mystery that we don't understand. But you don't believe in that because this person has to have water. And that's the issue. They don't believe that.
They don't believe that.
Do not believe it. Absolutely had to have water to be saved.
So Bishop Sanborn doesn't believe if someone is saved who is in those false religions, that actually means in the Catholic religion, right?
No.
Right? When he says if someone is saved who is in those false religions, and when someone is saved despite their paganism, that actually means that they're Catholic, right? According to the possessed demonic liar that you are, which is what you are. To argue what you're arguing, you have to be possessed, and I believe you are possessed.
That's nice of you.
Well, I'm just stating the truth. To lie the way you do.
Maybe you are possessed. I think maybe you're.
Well, you can say that, but I know infallibly that you're on the road to hell because you are as clear a heretic and liar as there ever has been. Okay?
Wow.
That's the truth. And see, you don't know that because you have no faith. I can tell you without question that you're on the road to hell. Without any doubt. And anyone who hears your lies and contradictions knows you lie almost every time you speak about this issue.
Brother Peter, you judge people. That's your thing. You're judge. You like to judge people and their hearts and their intentions, and that's what distinguishes you from everybody else. Basically, we
right, because we have faith and you don't.
We do let God judge.
1 John 4:6 says we are of God. 1 John 4:6 says we are of God. Okay, those who hear us are of God. Those who hear us not are not of God. That's how we know the spirit of truth from the spirit of error.
You don't believe God can save in extraordinary circumstances. You don't believe that, you see. You reject that God can save people in extraordinary circumstances.
God saves people only in accord with His revelation. And His revelation is, you must have the Catholic faith.
Okay.
All right? That's very simple. And so any mysteries involved...
I have been called in, and let me...
All right, well, it's pretty clear where people stand on this. And we'll have another debate, okay?
Hey, listen, that sounds great. Just let me know what you want to do it on.
Okay.
All right, and you got my number?
Yeah.
Anytime, let me know when you want to do it.
Okay. Bye.
All right, I got it. Bye-bye.
Bye.